All right. Give it a little bit of time for people to join.
Okay.
All right. We're just giving it a few more minutes for a few more people to join, and then we will get started.
Okay, good.
All right. Well, I think we'll go ahead and kind of kick off here. Um, so we're really excited to be with you guys today. We are here to talk about financing, and we're here with our in-house financing guru, um, at Adia Capital, Katrina Solvian, who is the co-owner and co-founder of Adia Capital. She wears a lot of hats, and has worked with thousands of customers over the years, with financing their new equipment. She's been working in equipment finance for over 20 years and loves to give personalized service to help customers find the best program for their business. So she is here today to answer all of your questions about financing your business, as well as financing your machines. Um, so I don't know if you want to add to that, but if not, we can go ahead and get started with some questions.
Well, I'm happy to be here and I'm happy to answer any questions. I know sometimes finance for equipment kind of leads into other questions about finance for your business in general, and I would love to help with any questions that come up.
Perfect. All right. And be sure to drop your comments, or drop your questions in the comments, and that way we can go ahead and answer them here live for you. But we had a few that came in before the actual live event, so we'll go ahead and start with that.
Okay.
This one's kind of the most basic question, but does Melco offer financing?
Yeah, they sure do. There's lots of different programs that fit lots of different needs, for all kinds of equipment through Melco. Yes, we would love to help finance anything. I mean, lots of people don't have cash to pay for this. And when you do financing, you're able to write off or expense everything you pay in. So we would be happy to help with that finance.
Perfect. All right. So you said that you could kind of write off. Do you want to dive into that a little bit more?
Okay, sure. So when you finance anything for your business, and it depends on the contract, but you're able to write off or expense everything you pay in. And that includes any finance charges, sales tax, maintenance, just anything that you pay in is going to save you on your business taxes. So your contract can be written a couple different ways. They can do a loan type contract or a lease type contract, but either one, you're able to write off or expense everything. So, especially for people who are new businesses and don't understand this, you're going to pay taxes on the profit that you make with the equipment that you buy. So, if you're producing hats to sell or shirts to sell or whatever, when you make a profit on that, of course, Uncle Sam wants his part of the pie, so he's going to charge you tax on that. This is going to help you offset those taxes that you owe. So while you're paying for equipment that is going to produce income for you, it's also going to save you on those business taxes that you'll owe.
Perfect. Thank you for explaining that so well. And if you guys have not seen some of our marketing that has gone out, if you purchase a machine by the end of the year and put it into, you start using it by the end of the year, whether that's one stitch or one print or whatever that looks like, you can get a pretty good tax benefit from the 179 tax section tax as well. So if you want more information on that, we can share that as well.
Yep.
But kind of moving away from, I guess, taxes a little bit. So what's the difference between doing kind of the in-house financing through you guys with Melco, and do they have to use our in-house, or can they use a separate finance?
Okay, so there's lots of ways. Anytime you buy equipment, you can pay cash for it. You can use a credit card. You can send a wire. You can use your local bank. Of course, I want you to finance through us, but there are lots of different programs, and you can finance the full amount. If you want to put money down and only finance a portion of it, you can do that to keep your payments low. There's lots of different options, however you want to do it. We'd be glad to give you estimated terms based on your specific situation, so customers can call in and say, hey, I've been in business this long, this is how much I want to finance, and we can give estimated terms before they even apply.
Perfect. Okay. So let's kind of jump into, I know that, when you're thinking financing, you're also thinking credit requirements and
Sure.
credit. So what are the typical credit requirements in order to get approved for financing, and what does that kind of look like?
Okay, so there's lots of different programs. Some of them depend on credit, but they also depend on how long a customer's been in business. Now, if you're a startup business, we do tons of startups all the time. We love to help people along that way figure out how to apply, how it's going to benefit them. So it's totally fine if you're a startup. I think a lot of people are nervous about that, but don't be. Now, we do have programs that will consider credit scores as low as 560. Now, that doesn't mean that if you have a 600, you're automatically going to get approved. It's just a good guideline, but it's definitely worth a shot to submit the application and see what terms we can give you, see if they work for you. And if they don't, you're under no obligation.
Perfect. Okay. So you kind of covered credit score too, and what that needs to look like. So when they're applying for a loan, or I guess a line of credit, do they run their personal credit or business credit?
Okay, a lot of times they are going to require that they review the personal credit, whether it's a startup or tenured business. To do business only, a lot of times they're going to have to be in business for probably over 4 to 5 years and be either a corporation or an LLC. But the difference is for customers who do commercial finance, most programs will require a personal guarantee and a credit check, but they won't report the contract on personal credit. So it doesn't affect their credit score, even though we are going to review the credit.
Okay. Perfect. Let's see. So we had a question come in that said, is knowing about embroidery equipment an advantage for ADIA?
If you have experience. Okay, so the great thing about us is that there's a lot of people out there who loan money for businesses, but a lot of them are very digital. They don't really talk to the person or work with them specifically. Basically, if they do have experience, maybe they've had it in the past or they currently work for another embroidery company or something like that, that's definitely something they can share with us. And a lot of our programs love to hear that. Especially if you're a new business. So definitely share that info with us and we'll pass it along to the credit analyst.
Perfect. Okay. So there was another question of, can I get financing with less than stellar credit? And you kind of touched on the 560 credit score, but do you kind of want to touch on that a little bit more?
Sure.
As far as what that looks like?
Sure. There are lots of reasons that people think that they have less than stellar credit. And it could be maybe they had a bankruptcy in the past, maybe they have limited credit. We definitely have programs for both of those. Now, the terms are going to be different than they would be for somebody with strong credit. But remember, you're writing off or expensing everything you pay in, and a lot of the programs that help with lower credit scores only require a document fee up front. So it's not like they would have to put a 10% deposit down or anything like that. Up front, they'd get their approval. And when they sign their finance documents, it would only be a document fee up front. And it's a pretty simple process.
Okay, that kind of touches on the next question that just came in is there a certain amount that needs to be submitted as a down payment?
Okay, no, a lot of our programs only require a document fee up front. And sometimes we do run specials that even the document fee is waived. So no, definitely not. Now, Sometimes to get maybe a little bit better terms, they may ask for 2 advanced payments, or maybe they would, if a customer says, well, I do have money down, can that help me with my terms? Sure. But a lot of the programs, again, only require a document fee at signing, and then their next payment's not due for 30 days.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Let's see. We had another one come in. Do I have to have a certain time in business? So you kind of touched on that a little bit, but do they need to be in business for a certain amount of time in order to be qualified, I guess, for personal and for business?
Okay. So most of the contracts we do are truly commercial contracts. So they are structured in a way that they are for businesses, even though they're signing a personal guarantee. But we do lots of startups. But if you've been in business over 2 years, that's considered a tenured business in the industry. So the terms are going to be a little bit more favorable if you can prove 2 years in business. And I think that's probably you're going to have another question that says, what would prove that? Okay, because that comes up a lot. Because I know a lot of people, especially in this industry, sell on like Etsy or through Facebook or through Instagram, but they may not technically be a business. If they can prove that with a business license, a state sales tax certificate, a lot of programs will review their Etsy stores because that gives you a timeline of how long they've been in business. Business bank statements, anything like that can prove it. And that would be 2 years or more would really help with the terms.
Awesome. We kind of just had a question come in of, can you give a payment sample for the EMT16X? I would say with kind of the price range that the EMT16X is in, what does a typical kind of average monthly payment look like for that?
Okay. This is very general, but I'm going to say maybe I'm going to go with maybe 16,000. We'll base it on 16. Will that work?
That works.
Okay. Now, please remember that I have to do my disclaimer that rates are always changing and you may watch this at a later date. So if that's the case, this could be different. But if they're a startup business, for 16,000, they do a 5-year term for most of those. So that's 60 months. You're probably looking at a payment of about $365 a month.
Okay.
If it's a tenured business, you're probably going to be looking at more about $335 a month.
Okay. That's a great, at least an average kind of, so you can kind of gauge
right
where you're going to be for that. And we do have the Bravo as well. So we have our Bravo machine that cannot be, it's not a modular machine. So you can't connect multiple machines like the EMT16X, but the Bravo is a little bit cheaper of a price point. And we do offer different financing for that. So we have our 0% financing, if you kind of want to touch on that a little bit, as well as what the monthly payment looks like on that.
Sure. Okay. So this is the difference, and I haven't brought this up yet because it does only apply to certain machines. So what we talked about previously is pretty much for any kind of equipment. The 0% program is a program that Melco offers, which is basically a personal credit card. So this is a little different than what we discussed earlier. You don't have to have a business. You don't have to be the business owner. So maybe, Jan Smith doesn't have great credit, but Joe Smith does, but Jan's the owner. Well, then Joe could apply for this. The application is only in a personal name. But the way that works is you have to pay the regular retail cost for the equipment. So you can't use the 0% option along with a discounted package price. So you'll pay the regular price. They finance it 60 or 72 months, depending on the package. And I think the way that's working right now, I think it's about $12,795 is that package. They're doing that for 72 months. So you're looking at somewhere around $180 a month.
Perfect.
Okay. That is a different application. So if anybody's interested in that, it would not be the traditional commercial application. So we would need to get that to you.
Okay. And we will link those applications below as well, just so you guys can kind of have a look at them. And of course, then, if you are interested in kind of talking further, we can connect you with one of our our sales reps who will also get with Katrina as well. So that way you kind of have someone along this journey to help figure out what's best for your business needs. Let's see. So Mark asked, is this just for embroidery machines or the direct-to-garment printers as well? The direct-to-garment printers also, you can also finance those. Do you guys do a lot of those?
We do. We do lots of printers. Yeah, we can definitely finance those. The lenders love to do that.
Perfect. Let's see. So Brian had a comment. He said that he previously financed with Melco, but it was a lease that he wasn't happy with the terms. Are there multiple options, or is it kind of just the same program across the board?
Okay, there are different options. Now, sometimes credit may lead you toward one option over another. Not everybody would get approved or qualify for every option. There are lease-to-own programs and what we call a commercial finance agreement, which works like a loan. So we do offer both. And I do know that some people have gotten leases in the past and they've not been crazy about them. Some lenders don't disclose fully that there is a purchase option due at the end. We do completely explain how all that works. Things have changed, and I'm not sure how long ago he did his lease, but things work a little bit differently now. There are lots of programs. For example, let's talk about the 60-month term that we discussed earlier. Used to be when you did a lease to own, you paid 60 months and then you still owed another 10% at the end. Well, now a lot of the programs are doing it this way. You pay 57 months, and if you want to keep the equipment, you just pay 3 more payments, which makes it an even 60 months, and then you own the equipment. So you're not really having to pay anything over and above the 60 months. Once you finish it, you own it.
Awesome. Okay, great. Hopefully that helped you answer your question, Brian. So if we can kind of go back to the 0% for a minute, we had a question come in of Racoma, which is one of our competitors, is offering so many years of free interest, which I'm guessing that means 0% interest. Does Melco offer so many years of free interest, or is it all 0% across the board?
All right. So there is a little bit of confusion sometimes that different programs offer either true 0% or deferred interest. So these programs that Melco offers are true 0%. That means that the term of the contract, whether it be 60 or 72 months, there is no interest. You're not going to accumulate interest. It's not going to all add in on the end. You just basically, you take your equipment cost and divide it by 60 or 72 months, and that's your payment. So it is true 0%.
Okay. Great. So I guess this kind of piggybacks off of that, but why do you charge more on 0% than the advertised price?
Okay. So the way that it works is most of the time when you've got advertisements going out, marketing, you're going to market your special package or your free shipping or whatever it is at that time. So those are discounted prices. Of course, you know, Melco wants to give out the best price. That's going to bring more customers in. But you're not able to do 0% plus the discount. You would have to pay the regular retail price. Maybe it would include shipping or whatever if you want to use 0%. You can't do both. It's one or the other. Kind of like the car ads, you know, $5,000 rebate or 2.9% finance. It works just like that. You can have one or the other.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So how long does the financing process take? Kind of from the application to approval to purchase?
Okay. So generally we are application only, meaning that you submit your app and for the most part, we don't ask for additional information. Those processes, we could get you a decision within 4 business hours. And then if they decide that they want to go forward, we email over all the terms, do a follow-up call to answer any questions, and then we can do documentation. They can sign it within another hour. So everything can happen in well under 24 hours.
Okay, great. Yes, if you want to get in business before the year's end, it's a
definitely
great time to do it. Yes.
Yep. And your approvals are good for 60 days. So if you're still thinking it over, you're not sure, there's no obligation, and your approval will stay good for 60 days.
Perfect. That again leads into the next question of, can I get pre-qualified, and do you recommend pre-qualification?
Okay. Yes. So here's the thing. I would love to answer, or any of my finance reps here would love to speak to a customer and say, hey, how long have you been in business? How strong your credit is? How much are you? I mean, it's just 3 or 4 questions and we can give estimated terms. Now, if there's something about that and we're like, well, it could be this, or you might fall in a little gap that's between 2 programs. Remember, a lot of our programs offer soft credit inquiries, and the contract itself won't report on personal credit. So it really doesn't hurt to give it a shot and just submit the app and we can get exact terms. But if they don't want to submit the app, feel free, give us a call. We'll get you in touch with a finance rep and answer any of those estimated payment questions you've got.
Perfect. All right, this is kind of a more of a credit question, but do you see it happen a lot where people are relying on their credit report from Credit Karma or Credit Sesame, and then it's a completely higher credit score when they come to you guys to get their credit pulled?
Yeah. Okay. So in a nutshell, a lot of those type of reporting agencies, they're great because they're making people more aware of their credit now. Sometimes I think it kind of makes people too aware of their credit that they get nervous about every little inquiry, every little thing that happens, that kind of thing. But those scores are not true FICO scores that Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion give. They are a culmination of what they see in the report, and they figure a score. It's hard to tell that, but if you read the fine print, that's what it is. So sometimes credit scores can be 40, 50 points different than what Credit Karma says or Credit Sesame, something like that. We do have programs that review 2 different bureaus. So maybe you have one bureau that's higher than another, then we might have an option for you because we do look at both.
Perfect. Mark just asked, do you finance other type of equipment or just like embroidery and digital? So he's asking if you finance commercial stuff like forklifts, kind of commercial kitchen items, that kind of thing.
We do. And here's the way it's really, being in this industry jumps into lots of other stuff. So, for example, we financed we call it a food truck, but really what it was somebody who wanted to take all of their items that they produced around and sell them. But it looked like a food truck, and it was going to a food truck area where other food trucks would be. We financed one of those not too long ago. A lot of people in our industry have different businesses that they own, especially small town people. I had a gentleman the other day who bought an embroidery machine, and he has car washes. We can finance most anything. And if you're looking for additional equipment, a lot of times we can put that in with the Melco equipment and do it all as one contract.
Perfect. And no worries, Mark. I mean, that's a great question, especially, when you're doing a commercial business as well, there's other items that you're going to need. So that's a very good question. Okay, let's see. Let me scroll through some of these really quick. Okay, so I know we kind of talked about business line of credit a little bit.
Okay.
I have 2 questions. Do I need a business license to apply?
Okay, that's a great question, especially because the application does ask you some business questions. So I'm going to give a real quick tip on that, and we'll talk about the business license specifically. If you are a startup business and you're wanting to apply, it's going to ask you a business name. If you have not decided on that, just list the business name you're considering. If you're going to work from home, put your home address in there. It's going to ask you if you're an LLC or a corporation, mark it as a sole proprietorship. That's okay. That's just going to get us the info we need to get your application started. Now, a business license is not actually required everywhere. A lot of us do home businesses. Those are not going to be required. If you apply before you have filed anything with any government entity, whether it's the IRS, your local business license office, or your state, it's okay. If your approval requires that later, we can help guide you to get you to those sources to register for those. But 90% of startups do not have to go and register those later, and we don't require them for the application.
Okay, perfect. So this kind of is also along the lines of kind of a business loan, but and I think where this question is going, so it's, can I finance machines with a business loan? So I think they're kind of going in the direction of if they took out a loan for their business in general, can they finance a machine with that loan?
Okay, so what would happen is, say that you already have a business loan on your own, you would just end up paying directly to Melco's accounting department or whatever for that equipment. But keep in mind, if you have a business loan, especially if you're a newer business, you're going to have lots of other expenses. So the great thing is if you've got this money in the bank, you might want to keep it and use it for inventory or building a website or, or just to get the inventory you need for this big order that you just received. And then go ahead and finance your equipment through a company like us. Keep that cash for the other things you need. A lot of our programs allow you to pay off early. So if you end up still having that cash in your bank later, pay off the contract. But as a growing business, you're going to have more expenses. You're probably going to want to buy a second machine, and you can pay cash for that one.
Perfect. What are interest rates looking like right now? I know that that's a huge topic in the news, and I know everyone kind of that's applying for any type of line of credit.
Sure.
Interest rates are a big topic. So kind of where are those sitting for machines?
Okay. In this industry, a lot of times we kind of hate to give out interest rates. And the reason is because there are so many variables. Mm-hmm. They start, in one, they could go way up. I mean, it just depends. But I will say that in equipment finance, our rates don't go up as quickly as your local bank rate would, especially for personal lending. Also, a lot of contracts don't show interest rates. So just a tip for everybody. When you do a commercial contract, you do need to make sure that you're comparing apples to apples when you compare one company to another, because a lot of times there aren't rates listed. So you need to compare your payments and make sure you're getting the best deal.
Perfect.
Okay.
And you did mention that if they pay it off early, there's not a penalty for that.
Okay. We do have programs that allow that. There are also some programs that maybe they have a small penalty, or maybe they have a penalty if you pay off in the first so long. It's going to depend on your approval and your contract. Years and years ago, as we talked about, I've been doing this about 20 years, a lot of programs did not allow an early buyout at all. That is a good question to ask when you finance. But we definitely have programs that allow you to pay off with no penalty and to pay against principal as you go.
Perfect. Okay, is refinancing a possibility?
I wonder if that question means for equipment that's already financed, or if they get approved through us and want to refinance later. Maybe I can answer it both ways.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay, so if it's maybe they have a contract now, maybe they have already gone through another lender and they are not crazy about the terms, or they wish that they could refinance. That's not too often. That's not really allowed. I mean, it just depends on the situation. If you have something that you recently financed and you're like, oh, I really wish I had gone through a different program or whatever, there are what they call a lease back, and sometimes we are able to do that.
Okay. What if they finance through you and it's, they're 30 months into their 60-month program? Can they refinance if interest rates drop a little bit, or?
Well, here's the thing. They really don't want to, because at that point it becomes a used machine. Okay. If they refinance it. And when they do that, then they'd be paying a higher rate anyway. And there's going to be extra documentation fees. So it's not really going to be a big benefit to do that.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Let's see. Going through a little bit more here. All right. You guys asked a lot of really great questions. Okay, so I've been approved for financing already. Can I use my finance company, or do we have to go with in-house? I think we touched on that a little bit, but.
Okay. No, you can go with your own finance company. A lot of times, and accounting, I'm not sure exactly how to answer this because I don't want to speak for anybody, but accounting, a lot of times will have to just verify the lender and make sure that they'll accept their purchase order, or make sure they'll pay in advance, or what have you. We do have special programs that are made just for Melco. So if any of those people would like to give me a call and see if our financing would be comparable or maybe better, I'd be glad to pre-qualify them.
Perfect. All right. So that kind of ran through a lot of our questions. Does anyone else that's on have anything else before we, kind of wrap up? Is there anything that you, Katrina, want to touch on that you guys get asked a lot or that you see a lot of?
I did think about something. A lot of people have the question about establishing business credit. So we talked earlier about, hey, can we finance in my business name? A lot of times to qualify for that later down the line, you need to be in business for a little while, but you need to get business credit established. And a lot of our programs will help with that. It used to be there was only one real reporting agency for businesses, but now there's 2 or 3. And that will help you in the future, not only with equipment finance, but credit cards for your business or any of those kind of things. Okay. Another thing I would like to bring up is I'd like to point out one thing that some people don't completely understand. If you use a personal credit card or even a business credit card for your finance, that's going to show up as revolving debt to you, which is different. And that might affect your credit score. If you do traditional commercial finance, it doesn't report on your credit and doesn't affect your credit score. That question comes up a lot.
Perfect. So you kind of touched on helping build business credit. How does that look if they are just starting out and they don't really have those 2 years built up or whatever that might look like, or they don't have, an LLC that they fall under?
Okay, that's okay. That's that. A lot of times they will still, it'll still help to build. You've got to remember that we have a lot of repeat customers. So just the history with us, if they want to come back and do more financing of more equipment, their history with us will help. Also, if they do file for an LLC or a corporation, it makes it easier for the business reporting credit agencies to report their business credit. And an EIN sometimes helps with that too. Now, EINs, which is your federal EIN, for those of you who are new, that's basically like your social security number for your business. It's how you file your taxes. An EIN also helps with you to be tax exempt on things that you buy. And if you have one of those, I advise to get one of those because I think that's going to help you as you're building business credit, because that can be searched when you're looking, when you're looking for credit and the lenders are trying to find your business and your business credit, the EIN will help with that.
Okay. So does a personal line of credit, if they start kind of building that up to pay off commercial equipment, will that then carry over into their business line of credit, so to speak?
Well, with us, all your contracts are going to be written as commercial contracts. So they are technically going to be business contracts. So those should automatically help. Most of our programs, the lenders do report to business credit agencies.
Okay, perfect. Do you guys have a payment calculator on your website, or what's the best way to kind of find out rates and payments?
Probably speaking to someone here. There are just so many variables. And the thing is that we just hate to give someone an expectation that is not correct. So having a discussion with someone, and it won't take long, or shooting us an email. We also have through the site, we have a link where you can just ask a couple questions of us and we can reply by email. But for us to give you a true pre-approval that's going to be as close as possible to the true payments, I think that's going to be your best bet.
Perfect. That's all such great information. So thank you so much.
Welcome.
Is there anything else that we might want to touch on before we kind of jump off? Or, and again, guys, if you do have other questions that come up, feel free to drop them in the comments, and we will reach out to Katrina and get her answer on those. Yeah. And be sure to get back to you rather quickly with those answers. So if you think of anything else, we can definitely do that.
Yeah. And listen, I just want to encourage you, feel free to reach out. I mean, no question is stupid. I mean, people, you're new at this, or maybe you've been in business a long time and never financed anything. Maybe you always paid cash. I mean, that's what we're here for. And we like to give personalized service, and we want you to succeed. Listen, the better you do, the more successful your business is, the more Melco's going to get business from you, the more we'll get business from you, and we want to help you succeed. We are excited to help people get into business and grow their businesses. So feel free to reach out with any questions at all. We'd be glad to help.
Perfect. And Peggy, you asked if you joined in late, can we see a recording of this? Yes, we will be emailing those people that did sign up for this with the recording. So you will get that. Or you can check out our social media channels on how to get that recording as well. So perfect. Well, Katrina, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to speak with you, and thanks for working with us and all of our great customers. So
yep, we love working with Melco. Thank you so much. You guys reach out if you need anything.
Perfect. Thanks so much and have a wonderful day, everyone.
Bye.